Like meta reform movements, the progressive era is going to be informed by faith. And we can see this in something called the settlement house movement. Now, the settlement house movement is going to be a nationwide movement, and it starts here first with Jane Addams and the Hull House. But before we get there, I want to mention the social gospel movement. We've talked about social Darwinism, but we can also see people like Rockefeller and Carnegie. They're going to have what they refer to as the gospel of wealth, the idea that God made them wealthy so that they could take care of the poor. And they use that faith, that idea of Christianity, to promote their ideas of laissez-faire economics and the idea that the rich should just be able to get as rich as possible because that's the way God intended it. The social gospel movement of the progressive era rejects all of that. They said that in the social gospel movement, it rejects this idea. They say that Christianity had become too closely associated with the upper and the middle class. In fact, they reject social Darwinism outright. They look at Jesus's actions in the Bible and they say he wouldn't have been a social Darwinist. They argue that you need to connect your faith to social justice, that to be Christian, you'd have to take care of the poor and the needy more than just allow the rich to get richer. So there's this interesting faith tradition that often gets overlooked today. And we can see it pop up here in this Hull House. Jane Addams was a middle-class white woman. She's a progressive. She was very educated, but she found she couldn't get a job after she graduated from college. And she decided that she was going to use her abilities and her knowledge to help the poor and the recent immigrants within the cities. Like I said, I think it's in Chicago that the Hull House first emerges. And this was a house that she ran, and it took care of the needs of the urban poor, especially those recent European immigrants. It had things like a nursery, a health clinic, lectures, music and art classes. There's a gymnasium, a public bath. By the early 1900s, there's hundreds of thousands of people were coming through this Hull House in a given year. Eventually, they worked towards political activism. They argue that the urban class needs more than just jobs. What they need is things like public parks and playgrounds. They need to have regulations on the people that are building the tenements. There's regulations that promote working conditions. So this idea of the social gospel movement is going to inform things like the Hull House, which inspires a lot of the progressive movement.